Welcome to episode 6. Today we're doing the seeds of tomorrow, nurturing future dreams. So let's talk about what that means. So this episode is really a metaphor about planting and tending seeds as a way of nurturing our dreams and our long-term aspirations. So small, consistent actions like watering a seed accumulate over time and produce growth for us. Through reflection, intentional practices, and creative expression, we'll learn how to set our intentions, take manageable steps, and cultivate the patience, because we really need that patience and resilience needed to make our future flourish. So the seeds of tomorrow are intentions, goals, small actions that we plant today that have the potential to grow into something that's a meaningful outcome later in life. They just represent the beginnings, and they're often quiet and unseen, that we need to foster with care and persistence and transform them into tangible progress. So these seeds might be learning a new set of skills or establishing habits like writing or practicing to paint. It could be a number of different things that we're going to do as intentional small steps every day. It also has to do with the relationships that we tend, following the right people, creating the right circle of people around you that can help elevate you, that teach you, that help guide you and take you to that next step. It's also different ideas that you're going to draft and sketch out and work on refining, and goals that you set and break into really small steps so that you can do it in a manageable way. The objective of planting seeds is not to have immediate results. It's about setting up commitments and a process that honors time and patience and steady care. What we're wanting to do is create manageable sets of goals that we can work around every day that are not burning us out. Because when you experience burnout because you're trying to do too much at once, it impedes the success of the overall project and can lead to burnout, can lead to failure of the project and just feeling overwhelmed and not being able to keep going. So I want to do a little comparison about seeds versus instant results. So when you're looking for instant results, what happens is you're looking for a quick payoff, high visibility, and it's short-lived and it doesn't have a big impact. It's like having that post that goes viral today and then you're forgotten. You haven't really achieved the long-term goal that you're trying to get. If you're hunting out external validation on a regular basis and not really just taking the time to foster your growth, you're not going to always get that validation and it's going to feel like failure. And we need to focus a little bit less on results because those are more long-term, and worry more at this time about process and how we can tend to getting the results that we want in the long term. So we want to go slow and compound that growth. And it may seem like your progress is often unseen, but just keep building at it. You need to make sure that what you're growing is sustainable and it has layers of outcomes. And worry a lot more about your internal cultivation than really that external validation. So it's really process and tending to focus tasks in manageable chunks so that you don't experience that burnout and you can get to your end result. So I'm going to share my story a little bit here. In 2023, in January, I had decided that I wanted to start building MindSoul Meditations. It started off with a lot of failures, a lot of trying to dive in really fast, really hard. And when things didn't pay off and nothing happened, I realized I'm going about this the wrong way. So the first thing that I did was I took a step back and said, okay, I went through this process right here. And I said, these are the goals that I have. These are the steps that I want to take. And you can even use AI for this these days. Just put in what all of your ideas are. They can just be in point form and ask it to help build a strategy that's in small chunks. What can I do every day to grow this goal? So in my case, I started with, I need to build a community. I need to have people who know who I am, because I'm not going to succeed at anything if I'm a nobody in the void of the internet and nobody knows me. So I started building a community. So I was on different social media. I found that I was getting the best response on Twitter because of the artistic community. So that's where I started building my community. So I started doing prompting because that was something that I could do every day, is share a prompt, share some experience that I had, share some knowledge that I had. And I went through this for a year. I spent sharing prompts on a daily basis, building a community, making connections, meeting other artists. And that was super invaluable, but it was also super sustainable. So when you're done with this episode, what I'm looking for you to do is to sit down and write a list of things that are your goals. What are intentions that you want to set? What do you want to cultivate? Where do you want to end up? And you're not looking to achieve that, say, even within a year necessarily. It may be something that takes more time, but you're going to write the list of where do you want to get to, and try to break it down into smaller segments. This, again, use AI. This is my goal. How can I achieve this goal? How much time should I invest in each area? How many steps should I take to get to this goal? And you need to have a growth mindset. So when I don't know if any of you have ever grown plants, we put our seeds in, we water them, we wait, the seedlings come up, and then it takes time for those seedlings to grow and to become stronger plants before they can start fruiting and giving us the results that we want. I'm a gardener, so every summer I'm going through this, and it's so frustrating when I'm like, oh, come on, my little tomatoes, just grow, grow, grow. And I get so excited when I finally see those flowers and I know the tomatoes are coming. And then, watching them as I'm watering them, and the tomatoes are getting bigger and green, and then they're starting to turn a bit orange and red. This is a long process. It takes months for those to grow. And what I want you to do is go back and look at everything that you've posted, look at everything, every step that you've taken along the way, and measure your progress. Did you take all the right steps, and did you meet all of your goals? If it's fostering relationships and making new connections, how far did I get? Did I get all of my letters sent out? Did I make all my calls? Did I talk to all the right people? Where did it go wrong? Where did it go right? What can I change? How can I improve my process to try and reach that goal better next month? If you even have one success, that's a win. That's a win in the right direction. And so look at what you got right in that one and try to repeat those actions and bring them forward to the next one. But it's important to go back and measure and see the progress that you've made, see the successes that you've made. Because when you see those little successes, it's really inspiring to help continuing to grow. And when you see the failures, don't let them be a letdown. Those failures are growth as well. They're just growth that you need to stop and examine them and figure out how to improve it so that you can go forward in the future. So let's talk a bit about how we're putting this in practice. I think I've covered a lot of it, but I just want to go through some clear steps. So the first thing is clarify what you want to grow. Write one specific time-framed intention for this week. What do I want to do? So you're going to break your intention into small, achievable tasks that you're going to do every day. And so you're going to have that 5 to 10 minute period where you're going to go and do something that's tied to your goal. Our next step is to reframe our setbacks as feedback and learning opportunities. So every time you did something like it didn't work out, or I forgot to do it today because of X, Y, Z, you're going to reframe that as a learning opportunity and feedback. Okay, so if I'm not meeting my goals every day, if I'm not showing up for myself and getting this done, what's holding me back? What's the difficulty that I'm experiencing? Maybe you're allocating this time at the wrong time of the day. Maybe you need to do it differently. Maybe this is not the step that motivates you to keep going forward, and you need to consider a different approach to it. Our next step is to reflect and notice the subtle progress and adjust to everything. So it might be 3 to 5 minutes each evening, sitting back and thinking, what was a win? What wasn't? How am I going to do it better tomorrow? So that could be just like you're about to go to bed, reflect on the day. What could I have done a little bit differently? Where did I succeed? If you showed up and you got it done, that's a success. Seek inspiration. That's your next step. So you want to surround yourself with examples, stories that energize your efforts. If there's somebody who does workshops that you want to participate in the workshops and get advice and insight and help you grow, do that. Surround yourself with people that are going to help you rise up.
This one's really important.
Don't forget to practice self-care. You need to take time to breathe and take care of yourself. You need to schedule time every week where it's just restorative activities. Maybe it's every day even. So for this week's art, we're looking to use a lot of symbolism for growth. Consider how that might look for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be literal. It can be very abstract. It can be part of what your vision and your goals are, and you're visualizing that as part of your artwork. It can be creating a collage of what your vision is, and your vision board, your dream board. This could be what your artwork is this week. I leave it up to you to pursue it however you want. Maybe it's just an inspiring visual that's going to help drive you in the right direction, something that you can stop and go back and look at and say, yes, that makes me think of what my dreams and goals are. That really inspires me, that visual, and that really gives me hope, that visual. So that's what I want to create. So before we go off to our meditation, I do want to give you a couple of guided reflection questions. So for our first question, I have, what dreams or aspirations do you most want to nurture? When did you first plant that seed? So think about that and think about how you want it to grow. Next question is, what daily actions have you already taken towards these dreams? Then the next one, which I think is really important, so this is our third question, is what obstacles or limiting beliefs threaten the growth of your seeds? So with that, let's jump into our meditation. Let's get ourselves grounded for today, and then we'll get into our featured artist for this week, and then we'll finish off with some art.
So I'd like you to get comfortable for today's meditation. Sit with your feet touching the ground or lay back and relax. To begin, I'd like you to close your eyes. Breathe in slowly, as if drawing in the sweetness of a garden in bloom. Exhale with ease. Let your breath become the gentle breeze that moves through meadows, soft and unhurried. Feel your body soften. Feel yourself held here in this moment. Whisper gently to yourself, what I plant today will grow. My dreams take root. My hope blooms in tomorrow. Now imagine a seed resting in the warmth of your palm, smooth and small, quietly extraordinary. You feel its potential, the whole of its becoming, folded into something no bigger than a wish. You kneel at the edge of the garden, bathed in golden light. The earth is rich and dark and welcoming. You press the seed gently into the soil, tuck it in with care, and smooth the ground above it, like pulling a blanket around something precious. You pour a little water, and you let the sun find it. Days pass, soft and slow. The soil stirs, and then a sprout, pale and tender, reaching upward with such a quiet certainty. It does not rush, it simply grows. Watch it rise. The stem strengthens. The leaves unfurl like small green hands opening to receive the light. And then a bud, tightly held at first, keeping its beauty close. But slowly, surely, it begins to open, petal by petal. A flower, yours, blooming in full color, radiant, real, and born from a single seed you chose to plant. This is what your actions are. Every step you take, every choice made with intention, every small kindness offered, these are your seeds. They may seem invisible. They may seem too quiet to matter, but they are working beneath the surface, building something magnificent you haven't yet seen. Rest in this truth for a moment. Breathe it in. Say softly to yourself, I trust the growth. I honor small beginnings. The future blossoms from today. Now let your vision widen, and you're standing in a vast meadow, and everywhere you look, there are flowers, wild flowers of every color, swaying gently in the light. Each one grew from a seed planted with love by someone who dared to believe in tomorrow. Some were planted by you, some by others who dreamed alongside you. Together they have become breathtaking, a living tapestry of hope. Breathe here. Let the beauty of it settle into you. Feel the warmth on your face. Feel the ground beneath you, holding you steady as it has always held every seed, every root, every dream that needed time to become. You are part of this garden. You have always been. Carry that with you as you breathe gently and come back to yourself.
Today's featured artist is Wildy Martinez, a Dominican-American artist, fashion designer, and founder of Wildflower Field Studio, a creative practice where art, fashion, and emerging technologies bloom together. Wildy's work is a radiant exploration of self-embrace, celebrating women, identity, and emotional resilience through digital and AI-assisted storytelling. Diagnosed with vitiligo in her 20s, Wildy turned her personal journey of self-acceptance into a creative movement, redefining beauty through diversity and transformation. From Times Square billboards to exhibitions at the United Nations, her art serves as a form of therapy, inviting us to see vulnerability as strength and imperfection as grace. By bridging traditional artistry with generative AI, Wildy infuses her creations with floral symbolism, each bloom representing growth, healing, and rebirth. Her mission is both powerful and poetic, to show that when technology and art intertwine, they can become tools for reflection, connection, and the restoration of the soul.
There's something deeply human about the act of planting a seed. You take this tiny, unassuming thing, smaller than a fingernail, and bury it in darkness, trusting that something unseen will one day emerge into light. That's faith. And for me, that's also what art feels like. Every time I sit down to create, I'm planting a seed. Not always knowing what will come out of it, but believing that beauty will grow from the effort. Sometimes that seed is born from joy, and other times from pain. But no matter where it begins, nurturing it becomes a way of nurturing myself. Art has always been my garden, the place I return to when I need grounding, when I need to process the noise of the world, or when I simply want to breathe. It gives me language for emotions that I don't have words for. When I paint, design, or build something through AI or digital media, I'm not just producing visuals, I'm exploring healing. Because creativity and mental health are deeply intertwined, one feeds the other. When I create, I am reminded that growth doesn't happen overnight. We live in a culture that celebrates instant results, quick success, fast validation, and viral moments. But real growth, the kind that changes us from within, takes time. It takes silence, patience, and faith that the roots are forming even when you can't see them. I've learned that creativity asks us to be patient gardeners, to show up even when the soil feels dry. There are seasons when inspiration comes easily, and others when I feel like nothing is blooming. And yet, those quiet seasons are just as important. There's where we rest. There's where resilience grows. The theme Seeds of Tomorrow reminds me that every small act of courage we take today becomes part of a larger story unfolding tomorrow. A sketch, a new idea, a decision to rest instead of quit. These are all seeds. They may be small now, but they are potential to become forests of change. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for our dreams is to tend to our mental soil, to nourish our hearts, to set boundaries, to let light in. Because just like a plant needs sunlight and water, our creative spirit needs care and compassion. When I take time to reflect, to breathe, to simply exist without producing, I am still creating. I am cultivating the space where new ideas can take root. For me, art is both the seed and the soil. It's how I heal, how I dream, how I remind myself that growth doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be honest. If you're an artist listening to this, I want to tell you something. Don't rush your becoming. The masterpiece isn't only the work you create, it's you. Evolving through the process. Your brush strokes, your sketches, your experiments, they're all part of your garden. Even failed ideas feed the soil for what comes next. Keep showing up, keep planting, keep nurturing your dreams, even when no one is watching, because the future is growing quietly beneath your feet. And if you're in doubt of your progress, remember this affirmation. I plant the seeds of my dreams today, nurturing them with hope and action. I believe that even the smallest efforts can lead to flourishing possibilities in the future. Each time you create, you're nurturing that future for yourself, for others, for the generations who will one day look back and find comfort in your art. So plant your dreams with intention, water them with courage, and trust that in time, what you've nurtured will bloom in ways you can't even imagine. Because the seeds of tomorrow are already in your hands today. And when you create from a place of love and presence, the world too begins to grow.
So let's create some art today. I'm in Wide Worlds, and for today's prompts and activities, I really wanted to pay homage to Wildy and her beautiful styles, her wildflower themes, and incorporate that into today's artwork. So we have our newest activity for episode 6, Seeds of Tomorrow, Nurturing Future Dreams, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So I prepared a prompt ahead of time. We're going to do a portrait of a young woman with vitiligo, her skin a luminous constellation of ivory and warm brown. She gazes softly into the middle distance, serene and unhurried. Her dark hair is loosely gathered, threaded through with wildflowers. Petals rest against her collarbone and drift across her shoulder like an offering. A garden of wildflowers and the sun in the background. So let's give those a try. So I'm going to do the cadmium and cobalt, which is a reference to the red and the blue. So it's cadmium red, cobalt blue. So we can see some of those on the screen here. We're going to try creating with that one. And then we'll try the neon flowers. This is one of my personal styles that, I played around with for a long time. It's very specific in the type of design that it's going to create, but we'll give that a go. I think this one will really do a good job of capturing the idea of vitiligo in the skin. So we'll create one of those. Then we'll do botanical fashion collage, which I think we're just going to get really a collage out of it. It's very sort of like a fashion cosmetic ad kind of look to it. And Pink Thermal Reverie is super dreamy, fuzzy, diffused. It's more a silhouette style of art, so we'll create one of those as well. I do like the sort of marbling effect that we have here in the skin. So this pattern here speaks to the vitiligo. So for our fashion collage, we actually did get a little bit of paint on the skin that sort of gives that vitiligo impression. So I think that actually came out pretty okay. I'm not displeased with this one at all. This one here is really cute. It's did capture sort of like the flowers as constellations in her clothing here. I think this one is actually really an endearing picture, so I'm pleased with the outcome of that one. So I have one here that I'm actually really happy with. I think this one came out quite stunning. We sort of have that floral element. We still capture that sort of constellation across the skin. We capture some of the ideas of vitiligo within the artwork, and I think overall this actually came out quite well, and I'm pleased with the results. So I do have a couple of Midjourney styles that I'm going to share for those of you that are working in Midjourney. It seems that those were well received last week, so I'm going to continue to include those. So before we create our art today, I have 3 questions for you that I'd like you to consider and use your answers to help guide you in the creation of your art. So the first one is, I want you to describe one small action you can take every day to nurture your dream. What is that action going to be? Second one is, what image best represents your growth process and why? And finally, I want you to identify one barrier to growth and one practical step to help you reduce its impact. Use your answers to help guide you in how you're going to visualize your artwork for today. And please join me on Friday for the discussion. I'm really looking forward to hearing what people's dreams are, how they're nurturing them, what their one small step is that they introduced, and also what barriers that they had to overcome or address in order to move forward. So join me on Friday on Hey Peers and share your art or whatever you created. We've had some amazing conversations within the group chat recently, and I'd like for you to be a part of it. So next week we'll be doing the Heart's Compass, which is about trusting inner wisdom and intuition with featured artist Mad Dolph. Thanks for coming today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe and the notification bell so you're kept up to date with new releases. If you'd like to support art therapy and keep this content free, I'd greatly appreciate it. You can do that by joining me on Patreon, which will be linked in the comments below. Patreon members get access to additional resources, guides, ebooks, prompts, and even the opportunity to work with me one-on-one. Don't forget, we'll also have a free live session on Hey Peers every Friday. I'll put the link for that below as well, and you can join us there to talk about AI prompting or your traditional art, share your art, talk about how this journey is for you, and share your experience of healing through art. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.